My name is Dr. Rick Lehman. I'm an orthopedic surgeon who deals primarily in sports medicine in St. Louis, Missouri. And we have an unbelievable panel tonight talking about ways to stay in shape in the face of the coronavirus. And this is a big problem. You're home, some people are in a very small apartment, and staying in shape isn't so easy. Your diet's not so easy. Not getting fresh air, not getting out's not so easy. So we're going to jump into this. Jessica, please start. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jessie Byerly. I'm the Director of Clinical Education for CORA Physical Therapy.
Ashley from the 314.
Hi, Ashley McFadden, Clinic Manager at our O'Fallon location.
Bryce.
Hi, I'm Bryce Hollinger. I'm the Federal Payer Compliance Manager with CORA Physical Therapy.
And Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin Cornelius. I am the Senior Marketing Representative, Hospital Specialist.
So we're going to jump right in. And the big problem is inactivity, deconditioning inactivity for people that are healthy. We're not talking about COVID patients. We're talking about the general population, basically a whole world that has been sheltering in place for almost 2 months, have completely changed their daily routine and have not had the benefits of going to the gym, going to parks, etc. So Jessica, I'm going to start with you. And what I would like to know is guidelines for activity. What's a reasonable time frame? How often you should work out a day? And what you can do in your home to be the most efficient for your working out.
Sure. So the American College of Sports Medicine puts out guidelines for different age populations on how much activity we should be getting. So from 0 to 3, there's not really a recommendation. From 3 to 18, there's different levels. From the younger ages, they really encourage just play. You know, make sure that your kids are getting a lot of play, encourage playtime, away from technology, about 1 hour a day sitting at the computer from that like 3 to 10 range. And then from 10 to 18, they should be getting at least 1 to 2 hours of vigorous exercise. And then I'm going to jump to our 65 plus age because that's really the population that we're talking about that's at risk. And that group should be getting at least 150 minutes of moderate to intense activity during the week, or 75 minutes of vigorous activity. In this group, that can be recreation, could be planned exercise, it could be working in the yard, going for a bike ride, going for a walk, anything in that population. So right now, go ahead.
Well, just to be clear, so the 1 or 2 hours of exercise for the adolescent, is that a day? Give us a time frame on that.
A day.
Okay. Keep
for
going.
The adolescent. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then, so yeah, it's different. So the adolescents a day, and then for that 65 group, they kind of give us a wider range of a week for that group that we're getting into. So right now, it's a little bit harder for those populations, so for us to get in our activities. So there's lots of ways, and specifically for the older population that we're talking about, participating in yard work, doing household chores, going for a walk, going for a bike ride. I think one of the things that might be worth exploring would be, things that we talked about a little bit ago would be Facebook classes or exercise classes, downloading some apps. There's tons of apps that are available, and a lot of programs are offering them free during this pandemic.
Great, that's awesome. Bryce, all right, so we want to know specific ways to increase your aerobic capacity. So one of the big problems with sheltering in place is A, you get deconditioned, B, you may worry a little bit about losing weight, gaining weight, which you then want to lose, which we'll talk about in a minute. But how do you improve upon your aerobic capacity, your cardiovascular fitness, when you're basically sheltering in place and you don't have the benefit of the gym, again, working out in the park, or possibly a trainer, etc.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of ways to get aerobic exercise in that people may not even be thinking about. You just have to get creative, and maybe not even that creative. You know, you can go for a walk, you can run around your neighborhood. You know, if you live somewhere where that's safe to do, you can absolutely do those things. For those people that are really sheltered, maybe into like an apartment, you know, they live in a city with a very condensed population, they may not feel safe going outside of the walls of their building very often, at least to exercise. So, you know, like Jesse did mention earlier, there are lots of online programs that you can get yourself involved in right now. So, you know, not to name drop or anything, but, you know, like programs like Beachbody or Peloton, you know, there's free things on Facebook. All of those things are available right now to us, and people should be taking advantage. You can also get really creative if you don't have weights. So like I know in the first couple weeks of, you know, the shut-in, everybody was jumping on Amazon and every place that they could find, you know, sporting goods stores to get home weights and home exercise things, and every place was sold out so quickly. You know, you can use common things that you have around the house, like cans of soup or food, paint cans. Like there's lots of weighted objects. You may just not be thinking creatively about using them in your workout program. I think the other important thing with, you know, doing a aerobic exercise or having aerobic exercise every day is setting a schedule, much like you would if you were going into work or, you know, not shut into your house. People that have a schedule seem to stay with it and committed to it more often. So, you know, whether that's waking up at 6 a.m. to do it every single day, doing that during your lunch break. A lot of us have kids at home right now, making it a lot more challenging to get those workouts in. So, you know, getting creative with, you know, your spouse, if you have one at home, or maybe before they wake up or after they go to bed too. So, you know, keeping to those things is really important. But, you know, I would just encourage people to get creative, use a lot of those avenues that are free to us right now. You know, get outside if you can, go for a walk, go for a jog, use nature, use our environment to your best of your ability.
Great, thank you. Ash, so a couple of things. Let's talk about nutrition a little bit. I think one of the problems is it's hard for everybody today to go to the store like we used to go to the store and do some of the things that we're used to doing kind of in a normal environment. So let's talk about nutrition, talk about hydration. What should we be eating? What does our calorie day look like in an environment where there's so much limited activity and maybe our calorie content is down or our basal metabolic rate is down? We're not really exercising the way we have in the past. What I really feel is, and what I've been telling my patients is, as they shelter in place, they need to decrease two things. They need to decrease their total calories. They need to have a calorie count. So if normally they're used to eating about 2,000 calories a day, which is about average, I tell them that they need to cut down to 1,600 calories a day. They're not usually real happy about that. And generally, I tell them to go to a very low carb diet, not truly a keto diet, but cut out all simple sugars, cut back on fruits, and cut back on anything that's high carb, i.e. pastas, etc. And I really feel, and I tell almost all the athletes, that as their exercise regimen diminishes, their calorie content has to diminish, and as their exercise regimen increases, their calorie content has to increase. So for those people that are older, they really have to be careful, bump up their proteins, they have to bump down their simple sugars and their carbs, and they have to cut off eating generally around 5:30 or 6 at night. So I really don't want them sitting around watching CNBC, watching all this news about COVID and eating 2 bags of Doritos. And I think it's really important to cut your calorie content down as you're sheltering in place, you're staying inside. Okay, Jessica, how are we going to socialize in a period when we're not supposed to be near anybody, we're not supposed to be in groups, you're not allowed to visit your grandparents, you can't visit your brothers and sisters? How are we supposed to socialize?
Sure. So I think it is important for us to keep socializing. You know, we aren't going out, we aren't doing those things. So to maintain contact and communicate with our friends and family is really important. It does have to change. It does have to look different. So it is probably going to look like this, like a Zoom call or a FaceTime using apps. There are lots of free platforms that we can use. There are even things like House Party that you can play games with some of your friends and family. Even emailing or going back to pen pals is a recommendation for some of the kids in incorporating some of their schoolwork that they might not be getting. Some of that writing is a good idea. So just kind of making a list of the people that you want to communicate with, and making sure that each week you're really making an effort to stay in contact with those people.
Great, thank you. So Robin, tell us how we are going to coordinate with the hospitals in terms of increasing our activity. What do the hospitals have to offer, and what do the hospitals have to offer in conjunction with CORA as it relates to conditioning, wellness programs, general health programs?
Well, as far as the hospitals go, one of the key things right now, they seem most excited about the fact that the patients can do telehealth, because a lot of their patients, even if they're either post-COVID or if they're just came in for surgery, whatever the case may be, a lot of their patients aren't wanting to get out into the clinics, or maybe can't get into the clinics. So telehealth has been a big thing for us. But prior to what is going on now, another one that is, I think, really beneficial is our fall prevention program. We have a lot of patients, or I come across a lot of hospitals that say their patients are prone to falling. And we have fall prevention programs that we have in place that are kind of key. So even when a patient isn't being treated, they're not being told that they have to do a fall prevention program. And it's a lot of times something that the case managers are actually recommending to them because they know that they're prone to falling. So that's just one of a couple of the ways that we're getting into the hospital market and making sure the case managers know that they can send patients directly to us.
Well, I think that's a really good point. You're deconditioned, maybe you're a little bit frail, and I really believe
Exactly.
that falls, and everyone thinks they're not going to fall. I mean, I've never heard a patient come in and say, I think I'm going to fall, and it's not generally my patient population. I see younger athletes, but I think that's one of the biggest problems, especially when you're deconditioned, you haven't been outside, you're used to sitting around. So I think that's really valuable, and I think that's really helpful. Thank you. Can anybody talk about the neurologic effects and how we're going to treat the neurologic effects of this process? How we can improve upon some of the things we're seeing. Number one, PTSD, patients staying inside for prolonged periods of time. And some of those patients are generally younger. And then the neurologic effects of being post-COVID. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I know that it's real. My daughter is anxious as all get out, and she's 10 years old, but I do think that it's real. I think that people have the back and forth and the confusion that we've, in the media and all of that we've created is real. So the more education that we can provide for our patients, and the more that we can show them that we're creating a safe environment and getting them back into the normal, getting them back into activity. Exercise and activity is the endorphins and the positive effects of activity for our social and physical and mental balance is so important. So sitting around and being at home does no benefit. And so I think it's just really important to educate them on how important it is to get back into a regular physical routine.
Right, I agree with that. I think you really, go ahead. Well, I think you really have to talk to your patients, and especially the younger patients, and explain to them that this is not permanent. We're going to get past this. But we are definitely seeing a lot of kids, they sit on the couch all day long. They play Fortnite for 14 hours a day. They're not doing anything productive. The parents really don't know what to do with them. And I think we're going to see some post-COVID psychosis from this, especially when there's 6, 8 kids in one small apartment, which we don't see so much in St. Louis, but I have a lot of athletes that live in the inner city, and it is a problem. So I think we're going to see that. And I think we're going to have to start looking at post-neurological deficits from the actual patients that have COVID, because that is one of the post-COVID problems, and treating the neurologic issues. And just like Robin was saying, falling, balance, central strength, core strength, etc. So I agree. Does anybody have anything to add? Well, I want to thank everybody for this very, very enlightening discussion. And I think that this is something we're going to deal with for a while, and hopefully it gets better and better. But I can certainly see this being a problem for the next couple months. And if we have a second or a third wave of the virus, I think we're going to have similar situations. So everybody, thank you and have a good night.